Right, hello everyone, so welcome back to my Invincible series. Here we have Compendium number 2, and this collects issues 48 to 96, plus Invincible Returns 1 and the Astonishing Wolfman 11. This was a series I loved, and I'm sure I said that in my last video. I am filming this one first, so I'm filming this before I filmed my first Compendium video. I was going to do it as I was reading them, and then I just kind of got ahead of myself with reading them. I finished book 1 and I didn't manage to film the review, then I started reading this, and I pretty much finished this as soon as I started it. I think it took me a couple of days to read this massive book. So yeah, this Compendium, like I say, collects almost 50 issues and tells the story of Mark Grayson after everything that happened in Compendium 1. So I forgot to say, this book is a complete spoiler review. Everything I'm talking about in this will be spoilers. I don't know why I said it weird. But I'll have talked about non-spoilers in my Compendium 1 review, and I will have given a brief overview without spoilers in that. So I just wanted to let you know that this is all going to be spoilers. I'm going to talk about the wider story, so if you've only read this book, I'd advise reading the series and then coming back to this video. But if you have read the rest of the series, I'm going to talk about it a lot. So, he's at college, he's with William and Rick, William's friend. After Rick was turned into a Reaniman by D.A. Sinclair. It starts with all these kind of people across the world. So in Washington you have Britt, Donald and Brittany. In Moab, Utah, you have the Guardians of the Globe, and then you have Black Samson, Rexplode, Robot, Duplicate, Monster Girl, Immortal, everyone just kind of around. And something it says in the bottom corner is like, oh, this appears in Brit, this appears in Guardians of the Globe Volume 2. And I was just kind of like, I wish that it was all just collected in one, you know? I wish that it was... I get that it's a different series, but I mean, it's all the same universe. I wish they just did one big universe. So then, Invincible and Eve go to where Doc Seismic has pretty much everyone from the universe somehow imprisoned. I don't know how he's done it. I don't know how a character like Doc Seismic manages to almost take over the world. So yeah, Mark and Eve go down to where Doc Seismic is and they get captured. It's hard to say. Kind of Mark being reckless. So we know that Mark's reckless when he gets trapped in alternate dimensions by Angstrom Levy and stuff like that. And so it's Darkwing and the Reaniman that have to come in and save the day. Darkwing, a criminal that Mark thought he'd locked up, who he gave to Cecil. So he calls him a murderer and punches him, and everyone's like, Invincible, what are you doing? He just saved us. And Mark's not happy with Cecil at all. He goes to him and he says, why did you keep a murderer in your, you kept Darkwing a murderer in your roster of heroes to use. And then, literally at the worst timing, D.A. Sinclair comes out and he says, I thought you were just using his designs. I thought you were using this. And so Cecil takes Invincible into the White Room and has a talk. And then he's like, why have you taken me in here? And Cecil just says, oh, for the element of surprise, and releases all these Reanimen that Mark then has to take out. And Cecil says, like, well, you're a murderer, you killed Angstrom Levy. You call him a murderer, but you beat Angstrom Levy to death. And so yeah, we kind of get reminded of that, and we get the reminder that Mark did, well, he thinks he killed Angstrom Levy. At this point we know later that he didn't. But he kind of was like, that's different, I had to. And it's kind of, he's dealing with the morality of others and like whether or not to kill. It's a very superhero trope to have, like, do you kill, do you not kill? It's like Batman doesn't kill because it's never the way. And so the lights come on and there's hundreds of Reanimen. And then we learn that Cecil has an implant in Mark's ear that basically dampens all of his powers and is a contingency kind of, Mark was to ever go evil or anything like that. And so Mark's flying away from Cecil as quick as he can with his ears bleeding. Cecil's chasing him down. He flies to the Guardians headquarters and he gets them to kind of defend him from the Reanimen and from Cecil. And he gets Robot to take out the implant, and they're all just like, Cecil, what is wrong with you? And so Mark is like, he's not working with him again, he's just going to keep to himself, and him and Eve ultimately start the Invincible Corp and kind of work on their own. And it's all because Cecil has, I mean, he has villains and stuff working for him. So then after that kind of bombshell, we get the backstory to Brit, the backstory to Cecil himself. So meanwhile we have Oliver training with Mark to become stronger and stronger. He becomes Kid Omni-Man, which, no good. You can't go by Kid Omni-Man. And Mark gets his new suit in this. He gets the blue and black suit because Art says, you've been in the old suit for a while and I got bored. Besides, this one will look better next to your brother. The old colours would have crashed too much. I don't know which suit I prefer, whether or not I prefer the blue or the classic yellow. So they go and fight the Mauler twins, and Oliver just kills them. He just straight up kills them, and then Invincible stops the rocket that they launched and goes back to Earth and says, you shouldn't kill them, like, why did you kill them? And he's like, well, I've killed them, now they're done, they can't launch another rocket. If you weren't to kill them, they would just get out and they would do it again, which I get, because that's what happens in DC and Marvel all the time. You know, if Batman was to kill the Joker, then Joker can't shoot another Barbara Gordon through the spine and anything like that, or beat another Jason Todd to death, whereas he doesn't, so like that keeps happening. But the issue ends with Oliver saying to Mark, do you ever think that maybe Omni-Man was right? And Mark says sometimes. Mark is really, I don't know, just at a crossroads, because does he kill or not? I mean, it would solve his problems if he did. And so then we learn that Angstrom Levy is spying on Mark. Oh, well, we learn that someone is spying on Mark. We later find out it's Angstrom Levy. And we get this weird issue 54, where Mark goes to the future and kills the future Immortal, which was just weird and like out of place, but I quite like it looking back. I like how he rips the Immortal's head off because he asks him to. And then you're kind of going down this road a bit of Mark learning to sort of kill his enemies. Meanwhile, Alan and Nolan are in the prison. They manage to escape after forming a friendship. They're doing their own thing up in space. Nolan's going to go back to the Coalition of Planets. And so Mark goes back to see Amber. He goes to see Amber because she called him. And so he's like, what's wrong, are you okay? And she tells him that, I think I can't remember his name, Greg, maybe? I don't know. And so she tells him that her boyfriend hit her. And so Mark, as soon as he hears this and sees her black eyes, like, where is he? And Mark, being Mark, holds the guy over a ledge, literally off the top of the building, very Batman style. He's like, you ever touch her again, I will kill you. And we believe it in this moment, because like he's killed, well, he thinks he's killed Angstrom Levy, and like he has just killed the Immortal, and like he's kind of becoming a bit more violent, and it's like very Spider-Man 3 Venom, like this new suit is making him more violent. I know it's not, but it's just like the similarities are quite funny. And so yeah, Mark finds that they are being spied on, grabs the ball and it explodes. So then he takes it to Robot, who can, I don't know, maybe try and rebuild it and find out who it was. And Invincible thinks it's Cecil, so he goes to try and say to Cecil, look, I know you're spying on me. And Cecil's like, well, I'm not. What are you talking about? Yeah, and so Eve and Invincible are setting up their own superhero for hire business, pretty much. And then we learn at the end of 58 that Angstrom Levy is alive, and not only is he alive, he's collecting alternate dimension Invincibles to attack Earth. Then issue 60, we get a flashback to what happened with Angstrom Levy after Mark apparently beat him to death, and he's just in the alternate dimension, which was one of my favourite moments. It's so good. Well, other than something that's coming up. And we see Angstrom Levy's head caved in. I have no idea how he's still alive. His head is caved in, his eyes literally over a good foot away, and he summons a portal, puts his arm through it, and gets pulled through and rebuilt. And then it flashes to present day, where Angstrom Levy is having all of the Invincibles, different Invincibles, fight across the world at once and destroy all the world. And so people think, is it Mark doing it? And it's weird to see Mark like attacking Eve. It's weird to see all these different Invincibles attacking people. How he's gone down this path. Some of them he's gone evil because Eve died. Some of them he's gone evil because he was raised as a Viltrumite. Some of them, I don't know. We just get this really, really cool fight scene now between literally everybody versus these Invincibles, and it's gory and it's great, and we get the best moment from Rexplode ever. So good, so good. My favourite moment from him, and I'm hoping they do this in the show, because he's fighting Invincible, and Invincible has defeated everyone else, and everyone else has either escaped or anything like that, and Rexplode says to everyone, "You leave, I can hold him back," and then Invincible, the evil Mark, is like, what can you do? You know, you've got nothing left, you can't kill me, what are you going to charge? And Rexplode just says, "My skeleton," and he charges his own skeleton to blow up an evil Mark, which is incredible. It's incredible. I was reading that and I was like, no way did that just happen. So I missed all of this like war and like literally the entire world has been destroyed, and it says day 3, so it's been going on for a few days, and like all these different versions of Mark have just destroyed the earth. Mark and Oliver go to try and stop Angstrom Levy, and he escapes through a portal, and Mark grabs him through it and pulls him back, and I think he pulls his arm off because the portal closes. He does, he pulls his arm off because the portal closes. The issue ends with Mark just looking over the city that's destroyed, and then 61 is kind of clean up. Everyone just cleaning up, doing different things, and then 61, who comes to Earth but Conquest? And I was reading this, and I was like, didn't know anything about it, didn't know the fight, and it's incredible, it's so good. He comes to him, and Conquest is literally this like sadistic person that all he wants to do is just kill, because he just enjoys killing. And so he's come to, much like Anissa did, come to try and see how things are going now. Mark's been appointed the Viltrumite for planet Earth, and Mark, obviously, like at this point, Angstrom Levy, who he thought he killed, has like come back with all of these evil Marks. He's rightfully pissed off, and so he just says, "All I need is something to hit as hard as I can." And they launch into the fight scene at the end of issue 61. And so issue 62 starts, and it's the best couple of issues of comics I've ever read. The best fight scene I have ever read. The entire world is pretty much like destroyed, and then Conquest, this guy, comes out of nowhere. You know, Omni-Man's not here to help Mark anymore. Guardians of the Globe, all the other superheroes are pretty much cleaning up the mess and trying to do what they can. Mark's on his own. He's the only guy that can fight this guy. He's got to defeat him. And so he's fighting Conquest. Takes him out into space, and Conquest drags him straight back down to Earth. And they're just fighting. And Mark gets hit and he's like, Jesus, ow. Like, he's actually been hurt because he's so used to fighting people that aren't as much of a threat or anything like that. And Mark says to him, "Stop, just listen to me, just listen," and tries to have a conversation with him like he's done so many other times. You know how later on he does with Angstrom Levy, he does with Powerplex, he does with Omni-Man, all these people. And so Conquest says, "Are you crazy? No, I'm not going to stop, I'm not going to surrender, I'm having the time of my life." He just loves beating Invincible up. And then Oliver flies in, and Conquest talks of just like killing him, and I thought it was going to happen. I thought Oliver was going to die here, 100%. And so Mark really starts to kind of go to town on him, and it's just not enough. And Eve is still in her coma from the Invincible War, the fight that she got injured, and she wakes up and sees that Mark is fighting Conquest and has to go and help him. And so this fight, like, I just need to say, Ryan Ottley's art in this is incredible, because you have Conquest killing Invincible pretty much. You have the brutality of him beating Oliver and almost ripping Oliver in half, and the blood and everything, and you have people, I mean, the fight takes place across the entire world, and so they're skipping over like oceans, through beaches and trees and forests and people's houses, and so Atom Eve shows up, and Invincible is just like, get out of here, get out of here. He's way stronger than Omni-Man was. You need to get out of here now, otherwise you're going to die, like, just run. And then Conquest chops Invincible's leg like that, and breaks the bone, popping it out, breaks Eve's shield, punches her and cuts through her, and kills her like that, and she just falls. And I was reading this and I was like, no way have they just killed Adam Eve. And so yeah, Mark takes Eve down to the ground and he's just saying just keep breathing, and Conquest is like, you really care for her, you think you can actually hurt me, and all this, and he's saying about how her blood is delicious, and you have this page of him that's just terrifying where he's talking about all the things he wants to do. He wants to thank Mark for putting up a fight, and he doesn't have to cut loose like this very often. And so he says he was sent to take control of this planet, but he doesn't really care about that. He just loves beating people to death and Mark to death. And then he kills Adam Eve, dies, and he says, good, I'm glad, I have your full attention now. And then Mark turns to him, crying, soaked in blood, one of his eyes swollen shut, his leg bone popped out, and just says, I don't care how strong you are, I don't care how fast you are, I can see the future, you don't live to see tomorrow. It's so good. And then issue 64, Conquest versus Invincible again. They go to punch and kind of, both their fists collide, and Conquest's metal gauntlet breaks, and so does Invincible's arm. His bone pops out, and so he just starts hitting him with the other arm, and he's hitting him and they're fighting, and he's literally doing everything he can. He gets grabbed and he's biting Conquest and gets thrown away and comes straight back, and then all of a sudden Eve literally goes like, I don't know, nuclear or something, and like you have this massive atomic symbol, and Mark in the meanwhile is just beating Conquest with the good arm that he has left, the one arm that's not got a bone popping out of it. And Eve comes back and she manages to hold Conquest back just long enough for Mark to kind of get his foot in and get away. She's somehow alive, she's returned, like she's, I don't know. And so then Conquest says, I'm going to make sure you're dead. And Mark's like, you're not going to touch her. He's just got her back, he doesn't want her to die again. He's furious that she did die, and he just starts beating Conquest with his one good arm. And so what does Conquest do? Catches it and breaks his hand. And at this point Conquest is laid down and Invincible's just like knelt on top of him, and he has nothing left. So what does he do? He just starts headbutting him repeatedly. And I was reading this, and then you literally have a double spread of him just headbutting him with him sat over the top of him, and it's incredible. It's so good. And then you have one panel, just Conquest's face, or what's left of it. Mark manages to crawl off of him and crawl over to Eve, and sees that she's alive, and then they both just pass out. Cecil and the rest of all the heroes come, and that is the best fight scene I've ever read. So then Mark wakes up from his coma. Yeah, he's been out a long time. D.A. Sinclair's still, you know, working on the Invincible reanimate, and Invincible is shown Conquest's body, or what we think is Conquest's body, by Cecil, and it's revealed that Cecil really has the real Conquest alive, buried under the desert, which is gonna backfire. And then next issue, we get this panel that's identical to when Nolan introduced himself to Mark and to Alan and just says, let me tell you where we really come from. But we find out that the planet Viltrum has a ring of dead Viltrumites around it, which is incredible. It's so good. And so Nolan agrees to work with the Coalition of Planets and Alan to go and pretty much find a bunch of people like Space Racer and the Ragnar and everything like that that can stop a Viltrumite and that can pretty much take down the Viltrumites that are coming to take over Earth. And so in the meantime, Invincible is still repairing everything that happened on Earth and gets attacked by Dinosaurus. He's a lot more prevalent later on, but in this he's just kind of shown to be a crazy environmentalist that will do anything necessary. And yeah, so alongside all this, Oliver's growing up, Conquest wakes up, and as soon as he does, of course he escapes, because why wouldn't he? And then the Sequids, or Sequids, I still don't know how to say that, I'm going to go with Sequids or Sequids, I don't know, take over, and the issue ends with Adam Eve finding out she's pregnant. So yeah, then we just get issues of, I don't know, just sort of different villains, and the big sort of bad at the moment is the Sequids or Sequids, and they're taking over, and Invincible goes down. This is his second fight with them after being on the ship, and he knows how dangerous they can be, and so goes to the house and just punches his head clean off. And Robot says to him, "What have you done? Russ Livingston was a host, not a threat. He was innocent." And Mark knew that he had to kill his enemies because Oliver said that. Oliver said to him, "You killed them, they can't come back." And he's done it with Angstrom Levy. He did do it with Conquest. He should have done it, and Cecil kept him alive. And then we are introduced to Thrag, who is the big bad Viltrumite. So good. Conquest goes back to him, and yeah. And then after all that has happened, all of this, Mark finally gets his old suit back, and he's back in the yellow and the blue. And Nolan and Alan the alien come to Earth and say it's time for war, which, you know, it is. It's time that they're just like, I don't know, they need to go and face off against the Viltrumites before they attack Earth. And yeah, and so a lot of this is, I don't want to say filler or anything like that, but like a lot of it is just different kind of villains of the week almost. You're introduced to a lot of different characters, you're introduced to a lot of different like villains that show up or that come back later or that just show up as a one-off. And yeah, so then Mark and Alan and Oliver and Nolan are going to Taliscria to go to the coalition of planets when they are attacked by the Viltrumites, and who else but Conquest is back. So what does Mark do? He doesn't let Oliver go. He just focuses just on Conquest because he knows how you know how dangerous he is, and all he does focus all his attention on Conquest whilst the others take out the Viltrumites and fight the other Viltrumites, and he just wraps his hands around Conquest's neck because Conquest is going after Oliver, he can't breathe in space. He's not as, you know, powerful as Mark is or Nolan is yet, so he has to fly to this planet to get breathable air, and Conquest is chasing him. So Mark wraps his hands around his neck and just holds on, and Conquest is doing all he can to get rid of Mark and to stop him from holding him, and he punches a hole through him and drags out his intestines, and Mark's still holding on, and all he's saying is, "I'm not letting go, I'm not letting go." And then we see Nolan and Oliver turn up to the planet where Mark is laid, his intestines hanging out, Conquest is dead by the side of him, he's managed to kill him. And it's incredible, like everything with Conquest is incredible. I really loved it all. And so Alan and Tech Jacket, who was on the ship as well, managed to go back to the coalition of planets, whilst Nolan, Oliver and Mark are on this planet. Mark's in a coma, and Oliver is learning to sort of control his powers a bit more. He's training with Nolan, and we learn a lot more about Thaddeus, who is the leader of the coalition of planets at this time. We learn just a lot of backstory about Thrag, and then the Viltrumites attack the coalition of planets, and luckily Mark at this time is back awake after months of being in a coma and repairing. And when I saw that, I didn't even know that Mark could survive that. He got a hole punched through him. I did not see that he was going to survive that. And so Thrag escapes with his Viltrumites off Taliscria, but you know, you can't just let them go. You have to chase them down and finish this. But Thrag is not going to let it finish, so he attacks Nolan, Thaddeus, Oliver, Tech Jacket, Alan, all of these people with his army of Viltrumites, and it's so good. And Space Racer comes in late, but he's got these Ragnar on his bike, and he's got a gun that shoots through anything, and it's so good. I was loving every minute of this. Especially when you see things like Alan punch up through someone's stomach and out through their mouth, and then Invincible, who's just killed Conquest, who was the strongest he's ever fought, goes to fight Thrag, and Thrag just bats him away easily, and he grabs hold of Oliver. First thing he does, pulls Oliver's arm off and breaks his jaw. And this, if I didn't think it before, which I did, I thought Oliver was going to die in the fight with Conquest. I thought he was going to die here for sure. Mark even thinks he's dead. He says, "You killed my brother," and goes to fight. Thrag and the Viltrumite temper that they've been speaking of comes out, but it's not enough at all. It's not enough to hurt him or beat him or anything. And then we get such a good just like thing happen. Thaddeus, Nolan and Mark fly through the planet Viltrum, destroying it. And you get this double page spread of the three of them flying out of the exploded planet. And now Thrag is pissed off, so he just rips Thaddeus' head off, and Thaddeus, the leader of this rebellion, the leader of the coalition of planets, is dead. So Alan is made leader of the coalition of planets, and the Viltrumites, we find out, have gone to Earth. And life for Mark has kind of changed on Earth now. He's been gone for the better part of a year, and Eve's friends with his mom, which he finds weird, and she tells him that she had an abortion, which, you know, it's really tough for both of them to go through. It was especially tough on Eve. And Mark just says to her, "I'm sorry I did this to you." And they cry, and I'm glad they stayed together. Like, throughout the entire book, I'm so glad that they stayed together. He goes to see Rick and William, who, you know, last time he saw them were at college and they were friends, and discovers they're in a relationship together, which, like the show, they are. I'm glad they did that in the show, because when I was first reading this and William was straight and just like, I don't know, like trying to be a macho guy, I guess it was, I don't know, not really true to his character, so I'm glad in the show they just kind of skipped that. Yeah, and then we kind of go back to, it was really weird, we kind of go back to, I guess, villains of the week again. From having this major threat with Thrag in space, this massive story, to just back at home fighting people like Dinosaurus and the bank robber who can control gravity and stuff. And Dinosaurus blows up Las Vegas, killing everyone except Mark, who was there to fight him. And Las Vegas turns to glass. And we get the reintroduction of Rex and Amanda, Monster Girl and Robot, and we learn that when they were on Flaxen, that they were, you know, they were trapped on there. And ultimately, I love the way the story played out, because Kirkman does it so slow and like across multiple issues. You get kind of the story playing out, and it keeps you attention, it keeps you reading, it keeps you wanting to know more and more and more. All the while you're trying to figure out what happened, why are they now come back, and like, why are things weird between them? How long were they gone for? They say they were gone for 12 years, and then later in the story we find out, no, they were really gone for 700 years. And so yeah, Invincible also frees Dinosaurus, the person that blew up Las Vegas, and before he does so, he says to Eve, "If I was to do something, would you have faith in me? Like, would you know that I'm doing it for the right reasons?" And she says, "Yeah, of course." And then he frees Dinosaurus, which everyone sees as just like, why has Invincible done this? Is he a criminal? Like, why is he working with this person that blew up Vegas? And Invincible has done it because he realizes that Vegas being a like glass sheet with solar panels on, powering the entire world, is actually beneficial for the planet. And so, yes, Dinosaurus's ways were wrong, but he feels that with his help, they could really, you know, save the world. And he said to Eve, they have all this power and everything's getting worse, so maybe that's why, you know, he wants Dinosaurus to help him out. And then issue 85, we get Alan reveals his plan to Nolan to unleash the Scourge virus on Earth, because he knows that it will kill all the Viltrumites who are living on Earth, because it's done so before. It wiped out 99.9% of the population. And Nolan, who's changed, who's pretty much a human now, is just saying, you can't do that because Viltrumite and human DNA is so similar that it will kill all of the humans. And Alan just says, well, it's a price I'm gonna have to pay. I'm gonna have to do it, because we can do this and have all the Viltrumites dead, or we can, you know, let them build their ranks and rise up. And so he doesn't want that to happen. He doesn't want Thrag to build his army, and Nolan has to stop him. He has to stop Alan from doing this, and Oliver sides with Alan, which I didn't really find it surprising, but he sides with Alan because he's not from Earth. He'd lived there, but he remembers everything from the planet Thraxon, and he remembers everything. He's grown up so quick, he doesn't really have time to change on Earth, and so he doesn't really see them as people. I mean, not like Nolan does. Oliver and Alan are trying to fight Nolan because Nolan's trying to stop them releasing the Scourge virus on Earth. One thing I loved about this was how when Nolan's really bloody and Oliver punches him, he grabs Oliver and he's like don't make me, and then he just stopped and he's like, no, I could never, not after. And obviously he's referring to his fight with Mark, where he was kind of putting on a performance because of what he thought he should be. And he's like, I can't hurt my son ever again, not after what I did to Mark. And it's so good. I loved it so much. And then, yeah, Nolan flies back to Talascria and finds Debbie and says, we've got to go to Earth, we need to tell Mark. Meanwhile, Mark's on Earth and he's working with Dinosaurus, and then Alan and Oliver come to Earth and they tell him about what they're going to do. And Thrag comes up and sides with Invincible and says, I'm not going to let you release the Scourge virus on Earth because it'll kill all my people. So it's so weird to see Invincible and Thrag side after everything they've, you know, been through together, I guess, like with the big fight that came up with him trying to kill his dad. For them to side against Alan, who has always been a friend to Mark, and his own brother. You kind of think, is Mark in the wrong? But we know he's not. We know he's doing the right thing, trying to protect Earth from Oliver and Alan, because they're going to just kill everyone. It's going to be a mass genocide. And so Oliver shoots down to Earth with the virus to try and release it into the air, and Mark is trying to stop him, and they're fighting, and the Scourge virus gets released straight into Mark's face. And at this point I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake. It's one of my least favourite things when superheroes get depowered. And I just was like, please don't let him just get depowered and then stay depowered. Like, let him, I don't know, because they build up this Scourge virus throughout the book and they say, oh, it could kill the Viltrumites, it's killed 99% of them, it's done this. So he gets released into Mark's face and he just, like, at first it doesn't affect him. Alan's like, are you okay, are you okay? And then he says, I'm fine, and there's just blood coming out of his eyes and his nose, and it's just kind of shocking because, I don't know, I wasn't really expecting it. I wasn't like thinking he wasn't going to get the Scourge virus in his face. I was just thinking it was going to get stopped or something like that. And then so whilst Mark is pretty much in a coma and having people look after him, he's on the moon base, and Thrag has to make sure he's, you know, still alive, and he's looking over him because he's made this deal with him, you know. And like if he was to die, he was to say Nolan wouldn't just try and kill Thrag or anything like that. So yeah, Dinosaurus goes to try and make a cure for him if possible, all the while Bulletproof is donning the mantle of Invincible. We see Thrag try to kill Mark. He puts his hand around his throat to, you know, to strangle him, and Dinosaurus comes in to save him because, you know, he doesn't want Mark to die. And this fight that ensues between the two of them, Dinosaurus scratches him and his fingers literally just like fall apart. He bites around his head and all of his teeth come out. It just again reaffirms how strong Thrag is, how much of a threat he should be. He literally snaps Dinosaurus' entire jaw back, you know, thinks he's dead, and Dinosaurus blows up the Viltrumite ship and manages to escape with Invincible back to his base on Earth. And Invincible wakes up from his coma and he's like, where am I and what's going on? Bulletproof flies in, tries to attack Dinosaurus, and Oliver does as well. And Mark says to Oliver, no, don't attack him. And Oliver, not listening again, tries to attack him, and then Alan tries to attack Dinosaurus, and the only thing Mark can do is punch Alan to get him to stop, and he does, and his arm just falls apart, and then we learn he hasn't got his powers. And so this whole kind of section was just, I don't know, I found it much more interesting, everything with Rex and Monster Girl, because you see parts of their backstory bit by bit whilst Mark is powerless and he just isn't, you know, he can't do anything. And you see how Rudy, or Rex at this point, you see how Rex and Amanda took control of this planet and led it to like world peace, but then ultimately couldn't maintain it. And then yeah, the Flaxons are invading Earth because they have this new leader who nobody really knows who it is except Rex, and Invincible can't do anything to stop it. He can't go anywhere across the world. He just feels useless. He's at home. He can't do anything. He's got to let his arm recover because he's not even got the Viltrumite, you know, healing anymore. We just get issues of Mark powerless and him living with Eve, and it's kind of, dampener ending. Honestly. And I mean, it all really comes to a head in issue 3, but I really enjoyed this volume and a lot of the stuff throughout it. And so yeah, I really enjoyed this compendium and everything that it offered, and I really enjoyed how it had the Wolfman 11 and Invincible returns and he gets his old suit back and everything like that. The story itself I loved, and there are parts of it, but you're not going to love every part of the story, are you? And so for the most part I really enjoyed it, and how he set up everything in volume 3, everything with Thrag, everything like that, I really loved. And so yeah, stay tuned for my Invincible Compendium 3 review. It should be out fairly soon. So if anyone is still watching, thank you for watching. If you liked, then please leave a like down below. Consider subscribing so you don't miss out on my next review and my unboxings that I've got on the channel. I've got unboxings, I've got a new series called Beyond the Page where we look at the careers of comic creators and everything like that. So yeah, consider subscribing if that interests you. And if anyone is still watching, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for watching me ramble, and I'll speak to you all later. See you later. Bye.